At the beginning of 2023, China included 7 technologies including rare earth extraction technology in the prohibited export list as a countermeasure against the US sanctions on China's semiconductor industry. After the list was announced, the United States couldn't sit still. Biden launched an emergency plan and formed the so-called G7 alliance, including Australia, Japan, the European Union and other countries, in order to ensure the supply of key materials such as rare earths, and most importantly, to get rid of dependence on Chinese products. Such a move by the United States shows that China's countermeasures have taken effect. China has also played the rare earth card in the past, but the United States continued to import Chinese rare earth products, but this time it seems to be serious. However, foreign media were the first to stand up and say that the United States cannot get rid of the Chinese supply chain. The foreign media said this because the United States and Western countries are very dependent on China's rare earths, and at the same time, the country's rare earth processing industry chain is not perfect. The United States places high hopes on an Australian company called Lynas, which currently has 12% of the world's rare earth supply and is the largest rare earth supplier outside of China. The company signed a contract with the United States to build the first heavy rare earth separation plant in the United States, which is expected to start production in 2025. However, the plant needs to use Australian rare earth or raw materials instead of materials from the United States. At the same time, the quality of the company's rare earth ore is not ideal, and the production cost remains high. This is just the expectation of building a factory. According to the United States, they plan to build a completely independent rare earth supply chain, which will take more time, manpower, and material resources than can be estimated. If the cost cannot be recovered in a short period of time, it may be difficult to guarantee the capital investment. Therefore, it is very difficult for the United States to decouple from China's rare earths. Chips vs. rare earths. China has repeatedly been sanctioned by the United States because it has been stuck in chip manufacturing. The United States played the chip card, and China played the rare earth card. It can be said that both sides have come up with killer cards. Like a competition, which side can achieve the goal of self-sufficiency earlier and get rid of import dependence? How long will it take for China to develop high-end lithography machines? Economist Justin Lin once predicted that China will be able to manufacture EUV lithography machines in 2023. Now it seems that his ideas are too optimistic. However, China does not need to be too pessimistic. At present, China is only one step away from mass production of 28 nanometers lithography machines, and it is only a matter of time before it continues to break through. Regardless of whether there is a US ban or not, China has been conducting independent research and development in the chip industry and has never relaxed its pace. Dutch ASML, a giant in the lithography industry, is optimistic about China's chip industry. They believe that it will take up to 15 years for China to develop an EUV lithography machine. 15 years sounds like a long time, but compared to China's foundation, it is a relatively optimistic estimate. Even without the US ban, ASML is not willing to export high-end lithography machines to China. China is the only country with all industries. The ability to imitate and reproduce is world-class. Once high-end lithography machines are exported to China, they are likely to be imitated. Once China realizes mass production of a certain product, its price may become cabbage price. Bismarck didn't want to see it. At present, China still has many difficulties in the research and development of high-end lithography machines, but generally speaking, China already has a relatively high production capacity in mature chip technology, and has its own chip industry chain, but it needs to go further in technology. Looking back at the rare earth supply chain plan in the United States, there are many difficulties to face. The first is that the US is more dependent on Chinese rare earths than China is on US chip technology. According to statistics, the US relies on more than 80% of China's rare earths for civilian use, and more than 90% of China's rare earths for military use. The most advanced fighter jets, drones, and submarines in the United States all have Chinese rare earths. It can be said that without Chinese rare earths, the combat effectiveness of the United States is facing a crisis of direct shutdown. Plus, second, establishing a complete supply chain requires extremely high costs. The United States itself does not lack rare earth mines, and they were once the world's largest producer of rare earths. In addition to the United States, Japan and other allies of the United States sometimes hype their rare earth discovery, but this is just talk on paper. Proven reserves and mine production are not the same thing at all. At present, China still has the world's largest total reserves and total production of rare earths. Moreover, solving the problem of rare earth sources is only the first step, and the more difficult thing is the processing of rare earths. Currently, there are 5 rare earth mine projects in the United States, and a lot of investment is being made in them. However, if we want to rebuild the rare earth supply chain, we will face many difficulties, and it will be difficult to reduce the production cost. Rare earth ores often contain radioactive elements. In order to consolidate its nuclear advantage, the United States has included rare earths in the list of nuclear materials and conducted strict environmental monitoring of its production. Relying on imports from China for many years, the United States has not trained enough relevant professionals. Looking back suddenly, I asked China for technology only to find that I had to pay high patent fees. In order to obtain more profits, the original rare earth enterprises in the United States have also moved their factories to Southeast Asian countries, and I am afraid that they will not be able to return to the United States without putting in a lot of effort. In 2016, the United States predicted that even the most optimistic estimate would take 15 years to establish a rare earth supply chain completely free of China. As the years passed, that estimate proved to be far too optimistic. In 2010, more than 400 rare earth startup companies emerged in the United States, but in the end only 5 of them were put into real production, and only 2 of them could achieve considerable output. One of these 2 companies went bankrupt and went to Southeast Asia, and the other simply lost the right to operate. What's more, the United States has to unite with several other countries. When it comes to the distribution of costs and benefits, I am afraid that several rounds of war of words will be inevitable. In response to China's export list, the United States has made a countermeasure and united with Japan, the European Union and other 7 countries to establish a rare earth supply chain independent of China. But foreign media are not optimistic because the United States has relied on China for many years. Rare earths lack related industrial chains. They obviously have rare earths, but they insist on importing them. The original idea of the United States was to hoard rare earths in large quantities and sell them to China at a high price after China's resources were exhausted. Unfortunately, they played themselves off. For chips and rare earths, the future depends on who will achieve the goal of self-sufficiency first, China and the United States.